David Afolabi, and I'm going to tell you who he is. He's an accomplished technology and business leader with experiences spanning technical program and product management and solutions architecture and engineering, and over a decade of experience in the tech industry. With a solid technical background and experience, David has led globally distributed teams to design, develop, deploy, and support various software products, solutions, apps, automation, and systems API integration, and platform products projects from conception to launch. In his recent role, David leads product solution architecture and engineering programs as Group Business Program Manager, Product Solutions Architecture and Engineering at Boost Media Group. His skills include WordPress, Zoho Deluge, Python SQL, product lifecycle management, program management, etc. With a wide range and unique blend of skills, competencies, and experience, David is a versatile and dynamic professional ready to take on new challenges, innovate, and scale. And his talk is titled Designing Courses for Student Success. Within conventional educational paradigms, students frequently encounter constraints imposed by inflexible curriculum frameworks and standardized evaluation methodologies, stifling their autonomy and diminishing their student agency in the learning process. This dearth of student empowerment not only undermines intrinsic motivation and engagement, but also fails to adequately cater to the diverse needs and passions of learners. Consequently, students may disengage from their academic pursuits, struggle to discern the relevance of course content to their lives, and develop sentiments of detachment or disillusionment towards their educational pursuits. In this presentation, you're going to gain insights to enable student agency capabilities that can afford students the freedom to select from a variety of assignments and assessment options, facilitate the creation of personalized learning plans tailored to individual goals and aspirations, and provide avenues for showcasing their creativity and expertise. Let's get David on here. Hey, David.
Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks so much for joining us today, talking
A
about
pleasure.
student learning. Student learning is so important, right? Student success. If we're not actually engaging in our classes, we're not really learning well. So I'm excited to listen to your presentation. So I'm going to remove myself, and the floor is all yours. We'll come back for Q&A afterwards.
Right. Thank you. Great. So, hello, everyone. My name is David, and I am speaking on the designing courses for student success. And I will be tailoring that or focusing on how to translate some of the key concepts that I will be sharing with this audience into learning platforms. Um, so here is a quick overview of what my presentation entails, looking at the aim and then shaping the scope of presentation, followed by a bit of background and context to set the stage for the concept itself, and then go into the key concept that we'll be sharing, or that forms the centerpiece of this presentation, which is the student agency and the key concept in student agency. Then quickly look at translating this key concept in learning platforms. And of course, we'll dive into or finish up with the conclusion. All right. So the aim of this or the scope of this presentation is to discuss key concepts from student agency that can aid the design of courses and learning platforms for student success. And as we go through this discussion, key questions that I think would help shape the discussion or the presentation are, what exactly do we refer to as student success, or what exactly is student success? And then how can courses and learning platforms be designed to aid student success? Right, next is the background. Like I mentioned earlier, it's to set the stage for the presentation itself, or the context for the presentation. Many educational systems follow a one-size-fits-all approach, which typically leads to a lack of flexibility, and which in turn, when we talk about lack of flexibility, looking at flexibility in terms of how student would like to learn or could learn best, and versus what are the best strategies for learning, or what the best strategies for learning are. Then the next is curriculum often focuses on standard content delivery rather than accommodating diverse learning styles and interest. Similarly, the rigid curricula and standardized evaluations that typically stifle student autonomy. Um, when you look at rigid curricula, you're looking at, say, for example, rigid curricula that leads to, say, for instance, over reliance on standardized tests that can limit opportunities for students to demonstrate learning in various ways. Similarly, still under the rigid curricula and standardized evaluations, this typically could lead to focus on test preparations rather than, spurring critical thinking and creativity needed for real-world settings. So next is the lack of choices, and this means that students have limited opportunities to choose topics that interest them, or methods that suit their learning styles, right? For instance, you're looking at inflexibility in terms of assignment format, or methods of presentations that could potentially, impede the ability to assimilate properly and particularly showcase learnings or insights gleaned from a particular course. Finally, decrease in motivation and engagement. This is more like a lack of autonomy that can lead to disengagement or disinterest in academic pursuits. For instance, a student may become passive learners and simply just only interested in completing tasks without necessarily having genuine interest. So, what is a student agency? Right, student agency basically refers to the capacity of students to take charge of their own learning and make meaningful choices that influences their educational experience. Uh, it encompasses the ability of students to set goals, make decisions, take actions, and contribute to their academic and personal growth. And as you would see in the next subsequent slide, some of the key aspects to student agency, which would form the basis or insight into how to, the understanding of how to solve the problems initially highlighted in the previous slide, and how to translate those into implementation. So one of the key, or some of the key concepts in student agency, as you may have inferred from the problems already or initially stated, are, for instance, the choice and autonomy. Choice and autonomy. That is, how do we offer students the choice in assignment and assessment? All right. How do we ensure that these courses are designed in such a way that it provides sufficient choices in terms of assignment and assessment? Similarly, choice and autonomy basically helps to provide benefits of autonomy in learning and engagement, meaning that, for instance, how students would potentially want to engage a particular course, or would effectively engage and be much more productive. For instance, like in the beginning, I asked one I mean, one of the questions that we had said in the uh, beginning of the presentation is what exactly do we refer to as, for instance, student success, right? Do we Are we looking at, say, for example, students passing or being able to pass tests alone, or equipping students with the key capabilities such as critical thinking, um, that could potentially help in real world settings, that is post school, right? So second key concept in student agency is personalized learning plans, which basically focuses on encouraging students to set their own learning milestones, and also focuses on the importance of personalized learning paths for diverse needs and passions. So, for instance, a student could take initiative in their learning processes by setting their own goals and monitoring their own progress and seeking resources and support as needed. Um, Next is the creative expression and project-based learning. Um, so, for instance, this provides opportunities for students to showcase creativity and expertise. If you develop courses and the courses are presented in such a way that it gives students the, the opportunity to showcase creativity instead of just, for instance, just basically answering or providing answers to certain questions, right? Student agency concept focuses on creating courses in such a way that it gives room for creative expression, and then particularly more like in a project-based learning style. So the last point is co-creation of courses, that is involving students in the creation of course content and activities, right? This particularly benefits in form of co-creation that fosters ownership and relevance. It just basically, could get someone to a student to be much more committed because he or she was involved in the process of the creation of the content or the plan actually that the student is involved in. One other thing is the ownership and responsibility, which I mentioned. It's a key concept on its own, but integral to the co-creation of courses. So next, my slide here is how do we translate some of this uh, key concept from this student agency concept into, say, for example, learning platforms. So starting with the choice and autonomy concept, offering students the choice in assignment and assessment. We could potentially look at using plugins like LearnDash to create a variety of assignment or assignment types. For instance, uh, you could say, for example, explore essays, quizzes, or present examination in form of essays, quizzes, uh, or examining students based or using project approach, or even multimedia submissions, which allows students to choose and allowing the students to choose their preferred type of um, assessment. This particularly could potentially help facilitate flexible assessment options, particularly in form of implementing multiple assessment methods, such as peer reviews, self-assessment, and even incorporation of instructor evaluations using tools like, for example, VP Grade, for comments to provide detailed feedbacks on each of the assessment method and even the questions in the assessment. One other key thing just before I move to the next point is that designing courses are based on, leveraging the choice and autonomy concept could help, ensure that you could branch or enable branching pathways where students can choose different topics or modules based on their interest using conditional content. For example, using plugins such as H5P to enable branching. Interestingly, I think HISC that provides cybersecurity examination, professional examination, uses this particular choice and autonomy, particularly leveraging AI integration to learn about students' learning process and experience from some of the responses provided to assessment, and then using that to drive the pathway to, say, for example, represent a concept that that tended to appear like student didn't or has not gotten the full concept or full grasp of the key concept in that particular course. So that could potentially, automatically, based on responses provided, students would have be led through a pathway that could help them relearn a particular concept or reinforce their the learnings from a particular course. So one key benefit is that okay, I will come back to some of the benefits afterward. Let me quickly run through the next point. Personalized learning plans, basically encouraging students to set their own learning milestones. And this could be achieved by using, for instance, goal setting features, incorporating tools like VP achievement for goal setting, which or progress tracking, using progress tracking plugins to allow students to see their advancements through a particular course and adjust learning plans as needed. This could particularly facilitate adaptive learning or reinforces the concept of adaptive learning, using adaptive learning plugins that could help adjust content based on difficulty experienced during the course of assessment. So the next point is creative expression and project-based learning. The way we could translate this into the platform is by, say, for example, the use of portfolio plugins, which could give opportunities to students to showcase creativity and expertise, particularly when it comes to, say, for example, courses that has to do with having to, do, say, for example, design based courses. Portfolio plugins could help, facilitate this. Also, multimedia assignment or having plugins like H5P could facilitate multimedia assessment that could help present projects that relates or that are related to multimedia presentations to the children. So one key thing just before I go off this particular point that I like to reenact is that this project-based learning could be very, very, very useful, particularly in reinforcing learning or helping students to retain content already learned. For instance, we do custom LMS systems development. And one of the things that we've seen many or multiple users, and by multiple users, I'm referring to, say, for example, students, um, request is, for example, plugins that could, capability or systems capability or features that could help uh, them do project-based learning. And that particularly drove the owners of the platforms to say, for example, okay, how do you help us implement a requirement to facilitate project-based learning such that people have more capabilities or options in how they would like to present? For example, instead of, say, writing, someone might want to just record themselves and use that as a method of presenting answers to the assessment questions. So this particularly facilitates or helps to ensure that we have providing options to students as much as possible to present the way they want to present, or the way they best like to present assessment. Finally, is the co-creation of courses, uh, plugins that could be useful here, Co-author Plus, say, for example, for collaborative content creation, um, that could enable students to co-create content with the instructors. Also, body press for wiki could also come handy for implementing wikis that could allow students to collaborate and develop course materials and resources alongside their tutors. Um, Key benefits of leveraging student agencies are quite very straightforward, as we may have seen in the course of this presentation. Some of which is that, for example, this could particularly help facilitate feedback and iteration. Um, for example, using forms and survey plugins like WP Forms to gather student feedback on a course material um, could make it iterative and help improve on or shape course creation or co-creation of courses. Similarly, one other way to fast that we could potentially consider or implementing co-creation of courses is, say, for example, doing student-led workshops, or leveraging student-led workshops, encourages students to lead or to champion concepts or workshop through workshops or webinars on topics that they are quite knowledgeable about, and using some of the insight from that to particularly shape or to modify or to enhance the course content. Um, Finally, here, as a form of conclusion, beyond some of the concepts, the few concepts shared here, beyond some of this concept and translation in, say, for example, WordPress or learning platforms, the advent of AI and especially machine learning uh, could and would further provide capabilities that could help significantly aid learning experiences and especially student success. And be that as it may, there is need to note that student success is critical, and it is at the center of both course designs and learning platform design and development. And that leads me to the end of my presentation. I hope that makes sense. Thank you.